Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Modesto. It's my great pleasure to be here talking about a topic that I love, and I feel very honored to represent my country, Brazil. Even though I don't speak English very well yet, but I promise to try my best. This will be a big challenge. I apologize if I don't pronounce some words correctly or if any translation are meaningless. I will talk a little about the challenge of forensic photography in Brazil in this presentation. To do this, I will bring you a brief context of Brazilian legislation and how the states of Brazil deal with this topic. I will also talk about how professionals in this area are hired. Allow me to introduce myself. I have worked as a forensic photographer for over 12 years. I graduated in communication and worked as a producer on a famous TV channel. Even though it was fun, it wasn't quite what I wanted. So I decided to something I really liked. I wanted to work in the police more precisely with crime scenes investigation. That's what I wanted. So I started studying until I passed the selection process to become a forensic photographer at the São Paulo Police. I worked in different areas of the police, and today I work in the homicide department. After joining the police, I graduated in engineering and acquired a postgraduate degree to teach at universities. Now I need to talk a little about Brazil. Brazil is largest and most populous country of South America. We have the largest economy in Latin America and the second largest economy in the American continent. Second only to the economy of the United States, according to the International Monetary Fund. Despite having a booming economy, we have inequality in wealth distribution, and this is a factor that greatly influences crimes. Regardless of the fact that we are the only country in South America that speaks Portuguese. While almost everyone else speaks Spanish, our realities are similar. This means that the things I say here about Brazil can also be applied throughout Latin America. To the rest of the world, represent an image of a great country, beautiful landscapes, great beaches, happy people, good music, preserved forest, and five-time world champion soccer. And this is all true. I don't dance capoeira and I don't know to play soccer. Don't ask me to demonstrate this. But we are also a country with a lot of crimes, and we have a very lenient legislation for crimes. The certainty of impunity is the main factor in the increase in crime, but I will talk more about this during presentation. Now, I will explain what the structure of our police is like, as this will be important to better understand the challenge. The Constitution established some different forces. At the national level, we have the federal police and federal highway police. They basically take care of borders, federal roads, and crimes committed against the country. At regional levels, each state has a prison police, a military police, and a civil police. This prison police transports prisoners and manages the prisons. The military police are responsible for patrolling, responding to incidents, and providing emergency medical assistance and rescue. It has no connection with the armed forces. The civil police are responsible for recording occurrences and investigating crimes. There is no hierarchy about them. Where do forensic science institutes come in? As there is no national regulation, each state has a different method. In the case of the federal police, which covers the entire national territory, it has a specific forensics team within its jurisdiction investigating crimes regarding it. But talking about the states, in some of them, the forensic team that carries out it is within the structure of the civil police. We have 26 states and one federal district. There are 27 forensic departments plus expertise from the federal police. These 27 departments can be classified in three different situations. In this first situation, the institution that carries out forensic examinations in the state is the civil police itself. 10 states plus the Federal District Act in this way completely linked to civil police. The same situation is also similar to the federal police. The second situation is a department completely apart from the police. Although it seems more appropriate because of its exemption and impartiality and autonomy for human rights, the forensic worker is not a police officer and loses police power and the right to carry a weapon. This is a problem here in Brazil because we transport evidence collected at crime scenes and criminals may want to recover it. And there is the third situation, which is the most suitable, but is not yet provided by the federal constitution, which is the creation of a further police force in the Brazilian states, which would be the scientific police. Today, this is how I work in the state. The employees of the scientific police are police officers employed by the civil police because the Constitution does not allow the creation of the further police force yet, but they work in autonomous and unrelated cooperation, precisely to maintain exception essential for the promotion of human rights. There is currently a discussion in the National Congress equivalent to the Capitol in USA, and they will probably approve the inclusion of the scientific police in the federal constitution. This is the first challenge for forensic photography. I need to talk quickly about the department I work for, the scientific police of the state of São Paulo. Here is the most populous state in Brazil. Approximately 22% of Brazilians are here. Of the 120,000 police officers in the state of São Paulo, around 4,000 working in scientific police. We are the largest forensic science department in Latin America. We emit more than 1 million reports per year. The state of São Paulo is a reference for other institutes in Brazil. For this reason, a large part of this presentation will be based on the reality of the São Paulo Scientific Police. Still, we have a rude shortage of workers. There are about 1,300 experts and 600 forensic photographers throughout the state of São Paulo, but not all of them work in crime scenes. I don't know how hiring people works in countries, but here in Brazil, every position for providing public service requires a public competition for tests and certifications. So, anyone who meets the required qualifications, if they do well on the test, is ready to start working. If the state's forensic institute is linked to the police department, the newcomer will have to stay in the police academy for a few months for training. This is good because only the most prepared enter the career. On the other hand, if the most prepared person has a bad day on the day of the test, they lose their position. Those with the most theoretical knowledge do not always have the talent for the job. In Brazil, public servants have job established and can only be fired if they commit a crime. Each state makes its own legislation on the structure of the forensic department. This also works for career nomenclature. The only career that exists in national legislation is the official expert, which I have the audacity to translate into forensic expert. I don't know if this translation will work well for everyone to understand, but what is important is that only career is common throughout Brazil. This means that each state has the prerogative to create careers to work both at crime scenes and in the laboratories of forensic science departments. So, in addition to forensic experts, there may be other careers that assist in forensic examinations carried out at crime scenes, such as criminal assistant or scientific police agent or forensic photographer. Some states have a dactyloscopist. This situation is another challenge to be overcome, the standardization of professionals. Now, speaking specifically about the forensic photographer's career, we have a big problem. Only three states currently have this career: São Paulo, Goiás, and Rio Grande do Sul. In other states, photographies are taken by criminal experts themselves or by some type of assistant who does not specifically have technical knowledge about photography. In the vast majority of cases, knowledge in photography is not included in job selection for the forensic field. The most worrying thing is not knowing that out of 27 states, only 3 have forensic photographers. What is worrying is that until recently there were 6 states and that the career was extinguished in 3. And what's the worst? The states in red on the map intend to extinguish the career as well. Here in the state of São Paulo, the only state showing in green on the map, the situation is not so bad. Here we have the forensic photographer and the forensic designer. Current projects aim to unify these two careers. This is very interesting and makes a lot of sense because within the advancement of digital products and 3D reconstruction of crime scenes, photogrammetry, etc., this combination of photography and drawing is an unavoidable reality. The good side of this situation is that there would still be a professional specialized in recording the crime scenes. We are faced with the third challenge, recognizing the importance of a qualified professional to record the crime scene. Speaking only for the Brazilian reality, more and more professional photographers have lost their prestige. This is not just a problem with forensic photography. Photographers in all areas are suffering from this. We all know that technical photography requires knowledge and skill, especially in low light situations. But with the advancement of technology, we are going back to 1888 in Kodak camera's slogan. You press the button, we do the rest. Current cameras bring good results for consumers, professionals or not. Nowadays, it is not a big challenge to photograph in poorly lit environments in automatic camera mode. So, this easy that exists in the amateur marketing creates a false feeling that taking photographies is something extremely easy and that anyone is capable of taking photographies regardless of the scene. This feeling is reflected in our field of forensic photography. Our governments do not recognize that forensic photography is not just about a press button. The work of a highly qualified professional photographer is essential for the good result of an investigation. Our photography equipment consists of a DSLR camera and tripod and flash. If we want to use other accessories such as macro photography or different lenses, we will have to buy them with our own money. This is a consequence of governments who do not pay attention to the importance of our work. But some improvements are coming. 3D crime scene capture was introduced here in the state of São Paulo about 3 years ago. We have still newbies on this subject, but since the department is a reference for the rest of Brazil, it is natural that other institutes will start using this technology sooner. Everything in the public services is quite time consuming. When the benefits become popular throughout Brazil, there will be a great demand for photographers qualified in this type of capture. It's a matter of time for this to happen. If here in São Paulo, which is the most important state in Brazil, we only have 600 forensic photographers. This number in the rest of the country is much smaller. We do not have an association that represents us, not a group that is committed to defending our interests. We have a voice within our governments. We are unable to disclose how much a forensic photography can be relevant to convicting a guilty person or freeing an innocent person. Unfortunately, this unity causes misinformation. I am part of a small group of forensic photographers who still try to use social media as a way to promote our work and show the relevance of our achievements for justice. But it is still an ants work for an entire nation that doesn't realize that we are not mere button pushers. There is highly technical work behind this. Everyone listening to this presentation knows that it's not just about arriving at the crime scene, take some photos and leaving. Unfortunately, there are few of us and fewer who do a quality work. We do not have a standardization rule or procedure here. This creates a void for each photographer to work in a different way. Unfortunately, there is a tendency of least effort that stands out among public servants because of the stability of employment. So poor performance is not punished. This pushes the quality of our work down. Under Brazilian law, only one photography is mandatory of the corpus in the position it was found. All others are positioned as it says if possible. It's a loophole in the law. So, if you are based solely on current legislation, not even the injuries on the corpus will be photographed. In addition to this mandatory photography by law, we have an internal rule of taking at least one identifying photo, which is a perpendicular photography of the victim's face. I'm sorry if it took me too long to get here, but it was necessary for us to better understand the process that will be discussed in these cases. I selected three cases in which photography was essential for the investigation or to prove that the suspect was actually the perpetrator. The first is a serial killer who became well known throughout Brazil. Amazon Prime will release a film about this story this year. The other cases are more recent, for last year, and 3D technology was essential in proving who the killer was or determining the dynamics of what happened. This case was in 1998. I wasn't in the police yet, and I don't have access to the original image files. I was only 14 years old, but today I work in the homicide department with the forensic photographer who was at that crime scene. Her name is Thelma Rocha, an excellent photographer and my crime scene coach. These images are not from forensic photography. They were taken by the press the next day. The homicide department was called late in the afternoon to homicide scene in the middle of dense forest. Arriving at the scene, they saw the corpse of a woman, partly naked, kneeling and with her head lowered. After carrying out the examination, they discovered another corpse nerve, but it was already very dark and the flashlight from 30 years ago did not have the same quality as today's LED flashlights. The forensic photographer took photographies of the second corpse, including the identifying photography of her face. The following day, the case gained notoriety in the media. Other women who were approached by the killer, but who did not go with him to the park, contacted the police and told them what happened. Based on these statements, the police made a sketch. As investigations progressed, the killer was arrested, but there was still a lack of conclusive evidence to technically prove that the suspect was actually the perpetrator. What no one saw at the time of the examination, and which was only observed after the photographies were developed, is that the second corpse had a human bite mark on the shoulder. The teeth mark appeared in the facial identification photography. This is just an image to illustrate. It was enlarged, and forensic experts trained in dentistry were able to reproduce a mold of those teeth. Among other evidentiary elements, it was also proven that the bite found on the body was perfectly compatible with the accused's dental work. The accused confessed the killing of 7 humans and raping of 9. He was sentenced 250 years in prison. But since Brazilian legislation says that no one can stay in prison for more than 13 years, in 2028 he will be out of prison. In July last year, before a soccer match between two of the biggest teams in Brazil, Flamengo and Palmeiras, the rival fans started a fight. A Flamengo supporter threw a glass bottle towards the Palmeiras supporters. The bottle hit a gate that separates the supporters, and fragments of glass slit the throat of a Palmeiras supporter. Her friend tried to help her, but she arrived at hospital dead. The homicide department was called. We reconstructed the entire scene with a 3D scanner and added into the drone's point cloud. Using images from cell phone cameras that filmed the entire chaos, experts through sound analysis were able to isolate the moment the victim was hit. At the moment, only one person appears throwing an object, as access to the soccer stadium is via facial recognition. It was easy to identify the accused. The difficult part was proving that he was responsible for throwing the bottle that the killer the supporter. We placed everyone involved within the 3D virtual scenario and reproduced the trajectory of the bottle from the moment it left the accused's hand through the fragmentation of the gate until the piece cut the victim's throat. We were able to demonstrate the exact vision that the accused had when he threw the glass bottle. He was arrested and awaiting trial. In October last year, an undocumented man was found dead below an footbridge in a remote location with no cameras or witnesses. Days later, he was identified as a missing actor. The homicide department was called to investigate what happened. We did 3D scanning on the site and photographies with drone. The goal was to understand how they had fallen from the viaduct. The photo is the corpses were not taken by our team. So the difficulty was placing the corpse in the exact location in the point cloud and trying to trace the dynamics of the fall based on the victim's injuries described by coroner. The scanning was important to determine the distance and know whether the victim was thrown or jumped vertically. This is important to know if there was a homicide or suicide or just accidental fall. This case is still being investigated. There are many challenges for forensic photography in Brazil and consequently throughout Latin America. First, recognition of the importance of professional photographies at crime scenes. Second, laws that make the presence of the photography mandatory. Third, standardization of procedures, creation of a crime scenes step-by-step guide to usually nationally. Fourth, creation of an association or union that represents us. Fifth, constant investments in technology, hiring new professional, training and certification of photographers. We have many other challenges, but those listened here are the first steps towards a journey of improvements and more success for forensic sciences. I would like to thank everyone, especially Eugenie, who organized this very important event for our career. Despite all the difficulties we face here, forensic photography is a quintessential job for society. We are the last voice of victims. I would also like to take this opportunity to ask if there are any forensic photographers in Florida. If so, please let me know and send me a message by email or social media. I would like to clear up any doubts. Thank you very much.